Power doesn't always come with muscles. In a world that constantly glorifies physical dominance and sheer strength, we often overlook the quieter forms of power. The kind that's forged in struggle, rooted in discipline, and sharpened by purpose. The common belief is that the person with the biggest frame, the loudest voice, or the most intimidating presence is the one who holds the most control. But history and humanity prove otherwise. Real power, the kind that changes outcomes and rewrites stories, isn't always visible at first glance. True strength shows up in unlikely places. In people who've been underestimated their whole lives. It can live in a young girl from a forgotten neighborhood, training silently while the world watches someone louder. It can rise in the face of disrespect, fueled not by rage but by unshakable focus. Physical strength may win attention, but inner strength wins battles. And often, those who depend on appearance alone are the ones most vulnerable to being unseated by someone they never saw coming. Think about the moments in life when strength was required, when fear was loud, when failure loomed, when others said you couldn't. You didn't need a bench press record to rise up. You needed heart endurance. Patience, the ability to keep going when no one clapped. That's power. In combat sports or in life, arrogance mistakes size for superiority. It assumes that strength is always loud, aggressive, and immediate. But some of the greatest warriors are quiet, focused. They don't need to yell to make their presence known. They speak with action, precision, and results. And when that moment comes, when they step forward against someone who thought they were small, they don't just survive, they shine. It's dangerous to judge someone by their appearance alone. The one who looks soft might be unbreakable. The one who walks in last might be the fastest. And the one who seems powerless may have been preparing for that moment their whole life. Muscles might move weight, but mindset moves the world. The strongest person in the room is often not the one with the loudest impact, but the one who carries the heaviest purpose. We live in a culture that still confuses power with dominance. But power is not about control, it's about capacity. The capacity to endure, to learn, to evolve, to face humiliation and rise anyway. That's what true strength looks like. And more often than not, it walks into the ring underestimated. So the next time someone scoffs at the quiet one, the small one, the overlooked one, just remember, it's not the size of the fighter that determines the fight. It's the size of the fire inside them. Humiliation can be the beginning of glory. It may sound backward, even unfair, but some of the greatest transformations in human history began at the very bottom. Where pride was shattered, dignity was bruised, and the crowd was laughing. Humiliation has a way of stripping everything away. It exposes what's fragile, but more importantly, it reveals what's real. For many, it's a moment of collapse. But for others it becomes the spark, the exact moment everything changes. When someone sets out to humiliate you, they're hoping to reduce you, to shrink your worth, shake your confidence, and turn your name into a punchline. It's a power move, designed to put you in your place. But here's the twist: when you don't break, when you stay calm, focused, and refuse to shrink, they end up giving you the very stage they tried to steal. In the heat of humiliation, your character is tested. Not when people cheer for you, but when they mock you. Not when the lights are flattering, but when the spotlight is meant to expose you. That's when your spirit either cracks or rises. And when it rises, when you hold your ground and move with grace, that's when the unthinkable happens. The moment that was meant to shame you becomes the moment that defines you. Humiliation isn't the end. It's the pressure before the breakthrough. The furnace that burns away doubt and fear. It makes you sharper. It forces you to decide who you really are, someone who folds under mockery, or someone who turns it into fuel. We love underdog stories, not because they start strong, but because they rise when everything says they shouldn't. And so often, that rise begins right after someone tries to tear them down. The underdog doesn't deny the shame, they walk through it. They carry it, and then they flip it. It's poetic, really. The very person who tries to embarrass you becomes the backdrop of your triumph. Their arrogance becomes the amplifier for your breakthrough. And the audience that laughed, they become the witnesses to your glory. Because people remember how you fall, but they never forget how you rise. So when you find yourself humiliated, mocked, or dismissed, don't fight to defend your ego. Fight to defend your purpose. Let the moment do its work. Let it strip away whatever pride doesn't serve you. And then, when the dust settles, step forward with the quiet power of someone who has nothing to prove, but everything to offer. What they meant for your shame may become the very beginning of your legend. Because glory rarely comes without fire. And fire, more often than not, looks like humiliation right before it looks like victory. Never underestimate the quiet fighter. In a world obsessed with noise, loud personalities, flashy moves, bold claims, it's easy to overlook the one who doesn't shout, the one who trains in silence, the one who listens more than they speak. But history has shown time and time again that the quiet ones are often the most dangerous, not because they make noise, but because they make impact. The quiet fighter doesn't need to tell you what they're capable of. They let their preparation speak. They don't posture or perform. They study, they train, they grow. And when the moment comes, When the spotlight finally turns their way, they don't panic, they execute. Not with the pressure of proving something, but with the calm of someone who's already done the work when no one was watching. You see, silence doesn't mean weakness. It often means discipline. A loud fighter may grab attention, but a quiet fighter earns respect. And when you underestimate them, when you laugh, mock, or dismiss, they don't get rattled. They get sharper, they don't explode. They wait for the right moment, and when it comes, they move with precision, not emotion. The greatest advantage a quiet fighter has is invisibility. While others are busy being seen, they're busy becoming unstoppable. That's what makes their victories so satisfying, and so shocking. They weren't expected to win. The odds were against them. The crowd had already chosen their favorite. But the quiet fighter didn't need the crowd. They just needed one opening. And when they get that opening, everything changes. We often confuse volume with value, but the quiet ones often hold more knowledge, more grit, and more resilience than anyone realizes. They've faced doubt before, internally, privately, deeply. So when someone else underestimates them, it doesn't faze them. They've already battled bigger demons in silence. They know their strength doesn't need to be performed. It needs to be released. That's why the unthinkable happens when a quiet fighter steps up. People don't see it coming. They were looking at the wrong things: size, status, noise. But real power doesn't always wear a crown. Sometimes it wears worn-out shoes, tied-up gloves, and a look of focus that doesn't break. And when they win, not just the fight, but the crowd, the narrative, and the respect, it becomes a moment no one forgets. Not because they shouted louder, but because they stood stronger. They didn't need to talk about being the best, they became it. So never underestimate the one who moves in silence. The one you think is too small, too young, too soft. Because often, the ones you overlook are the ones most ready to rise. And when they do, they don't just win. They rewrite the story. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let this be a reminder. Not just about boxing, not just about one fight, but about life itself. The world will always have its loud champions, those who try to dominate with size, status, or ego. They'll mock, they'll underestimate, and sometimes, they'll even try to humiliate those who seem beneath them. But power doesn't always shout. Strength doesn't always shine under the lights. And greatness often grows in silence. Because when preparation meets purpose, and courage stands tall in the face of arrogance, something incredible happens. The moment that was meant to break you becomes the moment that builds you. The crowd that came to laugh becomes the witness to your rise. And the opponent who thought they'd destroy you, they become a footnote in your victory. So to every quiet fighter out there, every young girl training in the shadows, every underestimated soul carrying greatness inside, don't wait for the world to notice you. Make your move. Show your strength. And when the bell rings, don't fight to prove someone wrong, fight to prove yourself right. Because sometimes, when the arrogant push too far, they awaken a force they can't control. And when that force rises, the unthinkable happens.